Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Meet the Member podcast, a new podcast series where we find out about the new members of the Queenstown Chamber of Commerce and just some questions just to find out exactly about who they are. Today we have Peta Brown from Peopleology. Welcome along to this little podcast, Peter. Where we like to start is just to tell the audience your name and business, a bit of an elevator pitch on who you are and what you do.
Yeah, sure. Marina, Tim, lovely to be here on another sunny day down in Central Otago. So Peopleology, we really partner with businesses for long-term peak performance. And when I look at the three elements for peak performance that we really, get into, it is around about creating the culture, the right culture that you have in the business, is making sure that we've got a strategy that is fit for purpose and taking us where we need to go. And it's also making sure that we are enhancing the leadership, within businesses there. We have a program that we use called the CARE equation with that. So yeah, that's really that's our sandpit.
Perfect. So how did you get into that line of business or how did this start the company or start with Peopleology?
Yeah, sure. So I fell into it, like I think many of us do into our careers. I have been leading teams across multiple countries and multiple sizes for nearly 3 decades now. I've had teams of 4, I've had teams of 500. But if I look at it, regardless of which country I was operating the service or the product I was selling or developing, it was really around about how do I make this particular team hum? So if I think about Peopleology, it's actually a real like passion project for me. So I'm lucky to be able to play in this space every day.
Cool. Can you tell me any challenges you faced, I guess, in your business?
Yeah, so my business centers a lot around humans, and as we know, humans can be, and we're all very different, and there are lots of intricacies within them. So it's about how do I quickly establish how I can best support our humans and our people within our teams there. And the way I go about that is spending a lot of time into the research and current research or emerging research, especially around psychology. I find that to be super supportive for us.
What's the best advice you can give a young professional in your industry making their way and trying to start their career similar to what you do?
Yeah, so I think any thing that would be really amazing for young people at the moment, especially our Gen Z, is the world's changing so very quickly. It's about how you keep on being curious, how you keep that curiosity. And when I'm talking about that curiosity, it's not just phrasing up a sentence going, oh, I'm being curious. It's actually really seeking to understand. The amazing thing when you're curious is that you can't be defensive as well. So just like when you go to sneeze, you can't sneeze with your eyes open. You can't be curious and defensive. So if you can hold on to that curiosity, that would serve you well, I think, in today's world.
What do you think the best book that you've read might be?
Good question. So there's a classical children's book that I was actually only introduced to quite a few years ago there, and it's Richard Scarry's What Do People Do All Day? It's a beautiful pictorial kids book, but there's actually lots of correlations around this busy town, and I think about that into the business context there. And busy town, which is depicted in the book there, there's a few things there that I think I draw parallels to, that each person within this busy town has a role to play into the community. They actually understand their purpose, and we know within businesses that really helps us there. There's lots of collaboration happening within busy town, and any team that works really well generally doesn't work within a silo. So how we can do that, and even cross collaborate, across different not-for-profit sectors and that sort of thing as well, that I think we can learn a huge amount from each other. The beautiful thing in Richard Scarry's book as well is that the characters, they have this sense of curiosity. And if you ever hear me speak, I think curiosity is something that I think serves us really well. So they're actually wanting to understand what's going underneath the ground to them, where their corn that they're growing is going, and that sort of thing. So they're seeking out that the way their world works there. And then the other thing within this one there is a really strong sense of community. So how those interdependencies all work there is fantastic. So I think there's, this ecosystem of busy town works really well, but I think it'd be really great if we could see it with more in businesses and organisations.
Excellent. What do you think is the hardest, biggest, or most difficult lesson you've learned in your career so far?
I was fortunate enough to learn a really important leadership lesson when I was very young and new to my leadership role. It was quite tragic. However, it's about what I could take away from it. So quite a few years ago, I had a manager and a 2IC. I supported my manager giving a written warning to a 2IC that wasn't performing. Now, this girl she was only young, she was only 19, it was a Friday afternoon. She was meant to come to work on Sunday and she brings in sick. So our narrative is like, yeah, of course, you're not going to face the music, you've rung in sick. Monday, she brings in sick again. And we're like, yeah, okay, still not ready to front up to it. On Tuesday, her mum rings and says, this young girl's sick. And our narrative, our head is going, oh, gosh, now you're getting your mum to do it there. Now, unfortunately, 2 weeks from that day, this girl passed away. She was only 19 years old. She had stomach cancer that we didn't actually know about. What I learned from there is, judging without having all the facts is not going to serve you well. And I've remembered that lesson, and it was, someone carried on for me for many years. So that's probably my biggest lesson that I was fortunate enough to learn early.
That's a really good one. What's your, I guess, favorite hobby? What's your favorite pastime?
Yeah, I think when you live in central Otago, it's hard to have one favorite hobby because we have these amazing seasons and we have the incredible backyard here. But I think my favorite one is just throwing on a pair of running shoes and heading into the trails, doing a long run. I don't use any music. I don't listen to a podcast. I just go with my thoughts, and it's probably my best, thinking time that I do there.
Excellent. That's a little bit different to that. That's, yeah, excellent. Okay, and in summary, I guess, what is your ideal customer for your business or client, and how do you usually just summarize how you usually help them and stuff?
Yeah. Our ideal client, or the one that I enjoy working with the most, is actually one that cares. They actually care about the people, they care about the environment that they're working in and creating, and they care about the outcome. The way we end up supporting them most of all is, if you think about a bridge structure, one pillar is generally what the businesses are delivering. So whether it's accounting or earthworks or anything like that, and they generally know that part. But to have a strong bridge, you need to have another pillar. And to me, that's quite often the strategy part. So is making sure we've got a strategy that's actually fit for purpose. It's answering shareholders' needs. It's answering needs of their communities there. But to have the bridge, the other part's the pavement, and that's like the culture part there. So having the strategy that's actually joining it to your what you're delivering there, and that pavement part. So we end up working on one pillar of the bridge and the pavement, and it's because it's our businesses, that excel at doing the delivery part. So that's probably where we sit on helping businesses.
Excellent. That's been really, really good. That's been another edition of Meet the Member podcast, a series by Tim Wilshire. Yeah, thank you very much, Peter. That's been great to meet you. And yeah, I'll obviously upload this today, and you're going to share it to your network. So thank you.
Mā te wā.